Okay, hi. um, since I since I did the circus in the meadow part one, the first part of the message yesterday, I thought that I would go ahead and just continue today. So I'm going to be starting on page 18, near the very, very bottom. Yesterday we talked a little bit about how the mantra is helpful to staying in the meadow all of the time. And today what we're going to look at is how surrender is helpful. These are the two tools that we've been taught through the teachings of Inner Ramana so far. Starting at the very bottom of page 18, it says, surrender is a means of living within the world while releasing your attachment to the circus. Continuing at the top of the next page. The body remains, right? We still perceive a world right now. We still perceive a body, while we're in this process of awakening. So the body remains, as do the senses of sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. That's how we experience the world, is through those senses. In this way, interaction with the world is non-avoidable as long as the image of the world remains in the mind. Attachment to the world continues to build the image of the world and all of the false concepts it represents. Non-attachment through surrender releases the world within the mind, which allows a slowing of its images and a fading of illusion from sight. Now, for me, this is a little bit funny because this morning in my personal contemplation time, before I knew that I would be reading this paragraph in a video today, I was really looking at the same idea. I was looking at the idea about how during the day, when my mind goes to thoughts about the world or thoughts about the self, that what's happening is I am strengthening the idea of the false self and illusion in my mind. And when I take my mind off of focus on the world and focus on the self, focus on the thoughts, and I turn my attention back inwards towards still formless awareness, present awareness, that what's happening is I'm weakening my attachment to the world. I'm weakening my attachment to belief in the false self as who I am. And that's exactly what this paragraph says. Again, fumbling with my glasses so that I can go back and forth between, looking towards you and reading. But let's look at this paragraph again, shall we? Attachment to the world continues to build the image of the world and all of the false concepts it represents. Again, that's a really important sentence for what we're going to be discussing here. Attachment to the world continues to build the image of the world and all of the false concepts it represents. Non-attachment through surrender releases the world within the mind, which allows a slowing of its images and a fading of illusion from sight. Again, this paragraph, at the very top of the paragraph, said that, for us right now, the senses of sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch remain. We are experiencing the world. And, throughout my day, and I assume throughout your day, there are a number of contacts that I seem to have with the world, a number of issues, potential, things that could be seen as problems that come up with, that seem to need to be dealt with, that seem to need to be managed. And this just allows a temptation for the mind to get really, really involved in all of this activity, this present activity, thinking about relationships, thinking about, maybe reactions people are having towards me, thinking about things in what appears to be my life that seem not to be in order, that need to be put in order, or things that appear to need to be done in order to satisfy responsibilities I have with other people. How in the world can I do all of this without thinking? The mind, even when I'm taking a shower, wants to be thinking about the things that need to be done, or a conversation I had yesterday. And all of this thinking strengthens my attachment to the false as if it's real. As long as this body appears to remain, as long as I have these senses of, sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch, interacting with what appears to be a world, how can I loosen that attachment? How does the body itself and the senses itself interacting with what appears to be a world, how does that not become a trap for me? And the answer to that is surrender. The answer is, if I am always asking for intuitive prompts about what I am to do, what I am to say, how I am to see this, how I am to be now, just focusing inward and asking for these prompts and then following the intuition that I feel, it allows me to continue to interact as long as there appears to be a body, personality world, without being constantly engaged in thinking about it. And since it's the constantly engaged in thinking about it that strengthens the attachment to it and therefore the perception of the false as real, surrender is a moving away from that attachment. Surrender allows a weakening of that attachment so that I'm turning more and more attention towards what is real and giving less and less attention, less and less seeming reality to the false. So, attachment keeps the world going. This is the next paragraph. The circus, the mind, is in full swing. Non-attachment lets it fade until only the meadows, the stillness, reality remain. Sitting with me for hours each day is also helpful. This is what I was referring to just before I did the video. I was in my own personal contemplation time in my chair. Let me just show you. I'm sitting in a different chair right now, but let's see. Can you see right there? I don't know if I turned it around right. There's my chair. That's where I sit every morning in my own personal contemplation time. You might not have been able to see it because of the light of the window, which is why I moved over here for the video. You wouldn't have been able to see me because of the light of the window. But I do sit there in that chair every morning for hours in contemplation time. And this says, sitting with me for hours, me meaning inner self, inner focus. Sitting with me for hours each day is also helpful because my presence, which means my awareness of my true presence, right? My presence and my certainty, this is all within me. This is a self-certainty, a self-presence that I become aware of when I sit in that chair, engaged in focused contemplation time. Because my presence and my certainty strengthen your resolve. And then the next sentence is interesting. It says, in this way, I ask you to be my student. Now, there is no true teacher or inner guru. And there is definitely no true student, a false self that has to learn from a teacher or inner guru. But these symbols are absolutely helpful while this appearance of an individual separate self continues to exist. And one of the things that helps to reduce the strength of that appearance is sitting in that chair in contemplation for literally hours every day, focused on my true self. The more time that I spend focused on my true self, and the less time I spend focused on the false self and the false world, the more that attachment to a seeming world is reduced, weakened, and the more I'm attracted to the true self. Okay, that's enough for right now. Thank you. Talk to you later.